life. So if I expect God to do something for me, then I ought to expect God to do something for you, because I don't want to be the one to go to the level and breed jealousy and contempt. I believe if we start asking God to bring each other up while we're going up, the church would be on fire. Oh, bless the name of our God. You see, I look at this again. I look at this again. And then it's also called, prophetic sanctification. Look at what happens. Look at what happens. Jesus says to them, I want you to drink the cup and I want you to eat the bread. The bread represents my body. Look what he says, which was broken. He said, the cup is my blood, which was shed. How can you thank me for something that I have not yet done? I have not shed my blood for the remission of sin, but I'm thanking God in advance. You see, if you can thank God for saving somebody that's not saved, you can get, I'm going to preach anyway, you see, you can get God to save somebody. You ought not be concerned about your own glory. What about somebody that's standing around me? As I look at this now, and I'm moving very quickly here, I realize that what Paul says is, from verse number 16, he says, I cease not to give thanks for you, making mention of you in my prayers. What Paul says is, every time that I pray, and by the way, it is going to be daily, I'm going to thank God for you. You see, how many people have you made that kind of impact into their lives that every time they pray, they call your name out? I ain't got no jumping here before God. Every time, you see, I don't want nobody praying for me that have spot check praises. I don't want nobody praying for me that got sometime prayers. I want to be on your lips every time you pray. And if you pray daily, Paul said, I'm thinking about you. What Paul says to God is, I have no reason to ask you to do nothing else but greater than what you have already done. Look at what he says, I don't cease to give thanks, making mention of you in my prayers. Every time I get down to pray, I'm thanking God for you in my life. I come by to tell somebody, you about to get a big blessing. It's not because of your walk with God, but it's because of your impartation into people that God is about to use. I would have had some help in this house tonight. So look what he says. Look what he says. Look what he says. He says, my prayers have been answered by God before. And if my prayers have been answered by God before, then it is a setup for God to answer them again. You see, I don't want somebody around me, again, that only prays sporadically. I don't want nobody around me that prays, 2 and 3 moments. I got some hell in my life, and I need somebody that knows who God is. I need somebody that goes on fast. I know we young folks might have forgot how to do that. I want some folk that know how to turn the plate down, turn the telephone off, cut the TV off, and can get a prayer through. Because I don't want somebody to come inside my life that's trying to kill my life when I'm trying to live. I want God to resurrect me and bring you up with me. Have I got any help in this house? 3 minutes, I'm closing here. What Paul realizes is that God has answered other prayers about him, and he must indeed get ready to answer this prayer. All right, since I'm here, well, I might as well go with it then. From the Old Testament standpoint, there are 2 different views of prayer. And the Old Testament point of prayer is different than the New Testament's point of prayer. Because the Old Testament point of prayer is connected to their worship, that their prayer becomes a type of their worship. Because prayer is an intimate connection with my God. And if my connection is intimate, I arrive at a high concept and a knowledge of my God. It is my God that brings me into prayer to inoculate me with a higher revelation of himself. I'm not in prayer to find out your business. I'm in prayer to find out how to get my life back together. Look at somebody, tell them God's trying to fill you up with some more of himself. Y'all said, I'll be here. So look at it now. So look, I just like rambling tonight. So look at it now. From the individual level, petitionary prayers is common, for it is based on relationship. Nobody, and I mean nobody, that's not my wife, can come to me and demand that I take care of her. No child, and I mean absolutely none of them, that I ever meet on the road can come to me and demand that I take care of them like a father should, because we don't have that kind of relationship. Some of us believe we can just bump up into God's presence and demand that he takes care of me. And he says, when did you become my child? Because our relationship is not there. If you are my child, you're a joint heir. And a joint heir, you have a right to what I have. My child don't have to ask me, can he watch my 61-inch screen TV in my living room with my surround sound, 9 speakers, a DVD and a VHS, because he belongs to me. What God's trying to tell you is stop asking me. You are part of my family. Now hold your head up and start walking like a child of God. I would have had some help in here tonight. So look what happened. Y'all sit down. Look what happens. Look what happens. What her mom states, and he's one of another great apostolic father. What her mom states is this. He asked the question from the philosophical, technological point of view, and what he suggests now is, how can a person who does not serve the Lord ask and obtain anything from him? Because those who serve him will obtain their requests. However, those who do not serve him cannot expect to receive nothing. What Tertullian comes behind him and states is this, and I quote it, those who are more diligent in prayer are used to adding to the end of their prayers the hallelujah or a singular song. I don't know what's up on this tonight, but what is the actual understanding of hallelujah? It is a connection of two words. It is hale from the Hebrew and Yah from the Hebrew. Now from tetragrammation there is no J sound, so it is Y, which is Yah. When you say Yah, I am the self-existent God. I am the one that bind myself by an oath. I am the one that speaks and have the power to bring it to pass. But its connection to halal changes it, because halal means to be clamorously foolish. It means to boast about. So whenever I am in my prayers and I end it with a hallelujah, I'm not saying the word hallelujah, but I'm boasting about my covenant with my God. You better stop coming out of prayer crying and learn how to boast about God. I know what God did for me. I know where God brought me from. I know where I'm going. Somebody high five your neighbor. Tell them the devil lied to you. Tell them start lifting up God. Tell them start lifting up his promises are true. Whatsoever things are true, think on these things. Shout hallelujah. So look at what happens now. What time is it, man? Bless Jesus. Well, look at what prayer does. I want to point this out to you. Prayer seeks to reunite the Creator with its estranged creation. Because what Paul Tillich deals with now from his neo-orthodox doctrine of extensualism, he postulates now that there has to be a proper apprehension of this didactic. Because in the estranged creation, he had a connection with his Creator. And then for some reason, the connection was estranged. So each one of us finds ourselves not going to God for the first time. This is why I want to help you. This is why it's hard to come to God. Because it's not the first time you're coming. When you get saved for the first time, that's not your first time. That's your second time. Because we were all in Adam. And I was connected to God through Adam. So I already had a relationship with God. But because of my father, I'm disconnected. That's why 7 more demons enter. Because I've been here before. And when I come to God for the first time, seemingly in my mind, I'm saying to myself, you know, it's kind of hard getting saved. So the Bible didn't deal with it, but I will. After you backslide the first time, it's actually your second backsliding. So if the first backsliding brought 7 and the one greater than the other, now you got 14 plus